look at the street view, that is the sign, and it is directly across
wow.
the road, this little tiny 2-lane road from the one that you take. That's the road onto the track right there. And it's
Wow.
This
is
But the
Tyndale.
sign is like a 4x8 sheet of plywood size. Like,
Oh
I
yeah,
guess
it
I was
is. It's
expecting
not
bigger.
big.
No,
It is. But yeah, and you're thinking, oh, well, it's like every other racetrack. Here's a sign. It'll be like the next entrance. No, that's it right there. All right.
or something.
Okay.
There we go. We
Great.
see it.
Track
All right.
map.
Only took you a little while.
I'm sorry. All right.
It's
So you
okay.
get onto the track typically by going to the event center garage side of the timing tower. There's an obvious grid and there's an obvious upper grid. Usually you go through the grids, and that is how you get onto the track. It's pretty obvious, really. Like, you can't miss it. Getting off track, though, you have to come all the way through the pits, and way down by turn 1, you can turn up and then go drive through the entire paddock, basically, along the pit straight. All right. So should we start at coming down the straight, ready for turn 1, everybody? Does that seem like a good spot?
Down the
Yeah.
mountain.
Are you going to talk about pit in?
Absolutely.
We'll talk about pit in as we come around that turn 18, where it is.
I meant pit out. Getting on track with a
sure. Well, okay.
blend line.
Before we get to turn 1, yes, the blend line goes. Well, you don't even get onto track until you're through turn 1, and then the blend line stays all the way on the driver's left, all the way through turn 2. This is as it's going over a crest of a blind hill. So mind the blend line. Stay to your left and stay to your left until you're well down the straight after 2, because it's a very long straight. You got lots of time to get it together before 3. Do that. If you're coming through on the racing surface, don't cross the blend line. A lot of people like to do it. You totally don't need to. It's not really any faster at all. Set yourself up properly. You don't need to cross the blend line. It might be someone right there. You could ruin someone's day. And usually they start black flagging people for that. So mind the line. All right. So you're coming down the straight before turn 1. This is a downhill straight. You've got some good speed down this, good sight lines. And then you come into the braking zone, and it's downhill, and then it bottoms out and goes uphill and then crests right about the end of the braking zone as it then crests the hill to go down into turn 1. I find that most of the time braking around the 3 board is adequate so that you can be off of your brakes just as you're turning into 1. But because of the undulations of the hills, you have to watch your brake pressure, because you're going to be able to put more brake pressure on the uphill part. And as soon as you crest it right at the 1 board-ish, you're going to lose braking as you go over the hill. But that's okay, because around that time is when you should be turning in and throttling in anyway. Mental.
And check your mirrors as you do that, because you will see people with heavier or high-powered cars dive to your inside or dive to your outside, crest that hill under maximum braking, then lock them right up and sail off the track. And you can say to yourselves, why, you didn't listen to the Everyone Racers podcast. Now I've passed you.
It's true. Yep. Also to note here, this is a deceptive corner. You can carry way more speed through this corner than you think you can, because there's no good sight line through it. But there's a lot of runoff from on the outside of 1, especially because toward the end of the track out is where the north track cuts over to the other side. So there's extra room there. So challenge yourself to see how you can carry good speed through 1. And as you come through 1, then you're going to once you're tracked out there, you can just easily carry your speed through 2 as you crest the hill, because it's all still to the left. Watch, though, as you're cresting the hill, because that's around the time a lot of cars need to shift. And if you're not straight as you crest that hill, it is a notable crest and you're going with notable speed. So the car can get a little squirrely depending on your setup as you crest that hill and are shifting. So be careful. you got a long straight before 3. Like it's the second longest straight on the track by only a couple feet. So, and it's all downhill. So great, get your passing done, get all that done out of the way, check your gauges, because then you're coming into the 3-4 complex, which is going to require some significant hard braking because this is some of the tighter stuff on the track. Again, I usually found the 3 board is a great place to start braking so that you're off of the brakes as you're turning into 3. Now, 3 is a left-hand corner, 4 is a right-hand corner. Chrissy?
So that's straight. You can fit, and people will go 3 wide, I'd say.
Totally.
Probably not much more than that, but this is definitely a passing zone. So watch who's coming up from you, and there's possible if there's people that are that are faster that were coming down the first straight, you better be making sure that they're going to come by. So you're not only dealing with the slower cars that are just getting on track for the first time, maybe for the first time ever, getting onto track. And then you have the very fast cars, and then it might be you. So there's a lot of speed differential that can happen in this section.
Yep, totally. And then you've got to sort yourself out before 3 and 4, because going 2 and 3 wide around through 3 and 4 is not going to work out well. You really just get everyone sorted out before that, because 3 is a left, 4 is a right. This is all downhill, especially 4, and 4 is off camber. So you're going to give up 3 to do 4 correctly. Mental.
And if you've got to jump on the binders a little hard, or maybe give up a position that you were fighting for, or give up some momentum, don't worry about that. Get sorted going into 3, because you'll have a chance to make that up with what Chris is going to tell you right now.
Thank you. So you're going to give up 3 completely. You are not going to track out at all on 3. You're going to cut it in tight and stay left, and then prepare for a good run through 4. The curbing on the inside of 4 is friendly. You can get 2 wheels on it, no problem. Remember, this is off camber downhill. You have less traction than you think. And on the track out here, there's always there's plenty of dirt on the outside of the curb. I'll put it that way, of people who have turned in too early. So they didn't give up 3 all the way to take 4 correctly. So because if you do that, you've now got a 600 and something foot straight-ish down the hill where you can get a serious amount of speed, and you can pass people who did not do 3 and 4 correctly here if you do it right. But you do then need to gather yourself up for 5. 5 is the very bottom of the hill, all the way down, and it's the lowest point on the track. And at the bottom of 5, it's a little bowl basically, and you can have a tremendous amount of traction down there because you're pressing on the wheels of the car as the car bottoms out there. So what I like to do is after 4, come out to about halfway on the track, and as you're looking toward 5, line yourself up with a little tiny straight stretch before the turn into 5. Get your braking done in that area, and then you can carry a little bit of brakes into there if you need to, but then turn your head and look up the hill. And as you look up the hill, roll back into the gas, carry it through. 6, you can apex fine. You don't always have to. The car doesn't always work as well if you do. But on the off side of 6, as you're starting to come up the hill, you lose a lot of camber. So watch out. You will lose traction there, and you will easily float off toward the curbing there really quite easily. So be careful on that at 6. And after 6, you're running up a very steep hill. That is, you'll crest the hill and then go back down the other side. But the hill, the first half of the straight between 6 and 7, is really steep. You can't see anything over the other side. So you need to be watching the flag station that is at the crest of the hill straight, because there could be a pile up on their side. You have no idea. Great place for passing. And also, if your car's slow, just hang in there and stay where you are and let the other cars get around you. Mental.
And Chrissy alluded to, we'll talk about the rain, but this is a spot where a lot of cars will lose traction if it's a reduced grip scenario. So just watch that flag station, because they're very good about it, and they will be aggressively waving that flag, not looking at you, looking at what they see that they're trying to warn you about.
Yeah. And another thing about the rain, at the bottom of the hill at 5, there is a river when it rains a lot, because it's the low point. So be careful of that at the bottom of the hill. All right, so you've crested the hill between 6 and 7. You're going down the other side. You've got a great view into the S's that are coming up. Get yourself settled. That's great. And then the S's, you've got a right, left, right, left, right as you go through 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And this is where Chrissy came up with her patented copyrighted song.
It's not either of those, but I challenge you to sing it yourself.
What is that
It's
song
the
called?
it's the perfect rhythm.
Modulating the gas, modulating the gas, modulating the gas, modulating the gas.
And it works great
yeah,
through this whole section.
that means chances are your car you don't have to brake. You can just modulate the gas. Doesn't work for everybody's car, but
keep the car on the edge, go from one side to the other, make it smooth, carve your turns basically, and stay off. Really, you don't need the brakes for the most part. Just modulate the gas. So turn 7, it's the first right-hander. You can go and brake way later on this than you think, like way later. Also, because you are not tracking out on 7, you are just braking and turning in and hugging the right-hand side for 8. And 8, you'll turn, it's a normal 90-degree corner. Treat it like a normal 90-degree corner, no problem. But then as you come out of 8 and you track out, you've got to immediately get back to the left. So like you're going to continue back to the left after you tracked out to set yourself up for 9. 9 is a little different. 9 is more like a 45-degree corner. It is off camber, and you are not going to track out at all because you need yourself up for the 10-11 complex. So after the standard 90-degree left at 8, get yourself prepped for 9 to turn right with your apex is your track out. There is no track out there. And as you're coming to 10, you're going to crest a hill just as the start of 10 and look over the hill, top of the hill. Watch for the very end of the candies curbing on the left-hand side. That is your place you're targeting on the inside of 10. And you should be rolling into the gas here. A lot of people, as they crest this hill, float wide and then freak out and then lift. And then the front end catches and they spin and hit the wall on the inside to the left. Like it will happen this time. Mental.
Also, as you're exiting 10, that is another low point on the track. So in the rain, there will be a river there.
Yep. And all right. So now that we talked about the 7, 8, 9, 10, before we get on to the trick of getting through 11, this is a place that you will need to test traction in the rain. There are a lot of patches in this area. And from what I recall, the patches are they more or less grippy? I don't remember. It's a couple of years since I've been in the rain here. But anyway, test out the patches because there's a notable difference. I think the patches are grippier and you just stay on the patches, but I could be entirely wrong.
One thing that I want to say out loud, because it's really just a message for myself, is to continue to look up. So I have a difficult time looking up, but through this complex, while you're modulating the gas, it is tempting, at least for me, to be looking at the apexes because truthfully what I do is I check them off. I'm like, yeah, I got this apex. I got this apex. I got this apex. But really it behooves you to look up and be looking at you should be looking at the next corner. And some of them you can, some of you can't. But the further you look ahead, the better you can navigate through these turns, but also with the other cars that you're battling and that are around you, fast or slow or whatever. So I challenge you to modulate the gas, but also with your eyes up.
Mm-hmm. And kind of save your aggressive passing maneuvers till later. This is not the best time to do it. People are having enough trouble getting through this. So just be mindful of when the right time to pass is through all this, especially if it's wet. And gosh, I wish I could remember which one's which. Do you stay on or off the patches? But anyway, you'll figure it out real fast when it's raining. How about that? So you end up having to drive around them. Okay. Back to 10, 11. So you've come through 9. You did not track out. You stayed on the right. You've come through 10. You've crested the hill with a late apex just over the crest of the hill. Now you're looking down the hill toward 11 and then 12. The key to hitting 11 correctly is there is a triangle shaped red and white striped curb between the track you're on and the cutover for north track. Aim to put your 2 right side tires on that triangle. Like think of it like a pointer cone. Put your tires on that triangle and you're pointing in the right direction for the straight from 11 to 12. You're going to carry a lot of speed that way too, because your late apex through 10, hitting the triangle at 11 just flows really nicely into that little straight before 12. And this is a nice place to get like one pass done for people that did 10, 11 poorly.
Let me, I'm going to just be rude and yank the screen out from underneath you real quick, because this is highly valuable.
I might not ever get it back.
You might not. And I apologize for that in advance, because that's just how it goes.
It's okay.
But this is exactly what Chris is talking about. This is a Google view, and you can see exactly that triangle that he's talking about. And it's legit, because that is like the best. That is,
yeah, right side tires on that, and it all flows. It all works.
What is the, I don't want to keep mixing up the rain, but some of the curbs here, and I'm sorry to cut you off, some of the curbs here are safe. Most of them are. But in the rain,
they all get slippery. They all
yeah.
get slippery.
Okay.
Stay
So
out
as
in
we're
the rain
talking
for the
about
most part.
that,
actually,
yes.
I think because of where this track is, I think the actual scientific term is slippy.
You're not wrong.
I
Yes.
actually think you're right. Yeah. Yeah, it is. Okay. Good. So now I'm trying to share again. Let's see what happens.
Sorry.
Now it gives me this. Your sharing is paused.
I don't know how I did that.
Maybe it's because you stole it.
I'm.
Oh no.
All right, it's all right. It's all right. We
Sharing
can
is
fix this.
paused.
We can fit. All right. You gonna try it one more time, or am I going?
I'm working on it. I'm working on it because I am having apparently a couple of these windows open. So I'm trying to.
All right. So I have your map up if you need me
that.
to do it.
Okay, I'll try one more time to pull it back up and a new version and try to share this, and let's see what happens.
Yay!
Yeah, yay! Cool. We got it.
Good.
The link to this track map will be in our show notes, and this is an excellent track map because it has actual feet measurements as well as altitudes
and radiuses of corners too. Yeah. All right.
Is that what that number is? Okay.
Yeah.
Good. All right. I learned something.
Yeah. R135. All right. So now we're going to talk about the 12, 13, 14 complex, because these all have to get taken together. Now, of note, these are some very important flag stations in this area you have to watch. There is a flag station out to your left as you're coming up to 12 that is very visible on the straight between 11 and 12. You can't miss it. There is a little flag station on the left of 13. And most importantly, there is a flag station on your right and the inside of 14. That one you have to look at. Absolutely have to look at, because you are cresting a blind hill corner at full throttle. So you must look at that flag station. No questions asked. Okay. So how do you do this set of corners? Well, this is another one of those. You give up some so that you can get the most later. What matters is your run out of 14, because that is leading you down what is essentially almost 2,000 feet of straightaway for a lot of cars. That's huge. And how much speed you carry through 14. So 13 is a completely give up corner, and pretty much so is 12. 12 is the first right. It's a 90-degree right, except you're not going to track all the way out at 12. You're going to track at best halfway out, because 13, your apex is your track out. 13 is only a vehicle to you to get between 12 and 14. It doesn't matter how you get through 13 as long as you're getting into 14 correctly, which means you're going to be all the way on your left as you're prepping to hit the high point of the hill, which is on the straight between 13 and 14, which is pretty short. As you're getting to that high point of the hill, you are rolling onto the gas, gradually rolling on. And then you're going around the right-hand corner of 14 over the blind hill that you can't see. Also, it's an off-camber corner, so careful. You're going to lose a lot of traction as you come over the crest and down that hill. If it's dry, the curbing on the inside of 14 is very wide and very friendly. You can stick most of the car on the curbing on the inside of 14. I suggest you do. And then as you're doing it, it's going to be very tempting for your eyes to just look at the grass off the next straight on the left. It's just straight ahead of you. Don't do that. You're going to
It's
fight. You're going to catch
pretty.
yourself doing it. Right.
It's pretty because they do an excellent job of landscaping there. Yes.
Yeah, they do. You're going to catch yourself doing it and then say, no, don't do that. Look back to your right.
Yeah.
Look toward where you're going, which is the straight, which is basically 15 is a kink in the straight. So if you've done 14 correctly, you've set yourself up by giving up 13. You've rolled into the gas as you're cresting the hill. You've stayed all the way to the right, went over that curb. You're watching to make sure you're not staring at the grass. Fantastic. You're on this little straight between 14 and 15. You're going to track out after 14, but you need to get back to your right for the left-hand kink of 15. This is also a spot where you're going to have to deal with traffic management and too many people and people not knowing how to get through this kink properly. So look ahead enough to figure out how are you going to fit in with that traffic through this kink. Mental.
Because as Chris said, they'll be braking too much. So take your eyes off the grass and put it onto the traffic, because that's going to allow you to start figuring out who you're going to be able to get past or who might be coming up on you as you do that. So this is a really good spot to start laying out. And as he'll go into the next straightaway, it's a great line of sight coming out of 14 because you're cresting that hill. You can see all the way down the straight, and you can actually start seeing trouble in as far away as turn 16 if you have that level of situational awareness.
Totally. Yep. And I would also say that as you're coming out of 14, heading up to 15, this is the time where you might say, you know what, I'm not going to make it by that guy safely before the kink. I'm going to back off now, pause a bit on that little straight before 15, and then get back on the gas early so that you get a great run out of 15 to pass the person that was going to be in your way through that kink.
And yell more power in your best Jeremy Clarkson voice. As
Please.
Turbo power.
More turbo power. When you were talking about, I mean, this is also on the straight. I'm jumping on a gun a little bit. I'm thinking of it. There's a lot of grass in this area. And when you mental said, stop looking at the grass, or whoever said, stop looking at the grass. Also don't watch cars as they're going off the grass, because sometimes you will go with them. There is a lot, if it's wet or has been wet, that grass gets very slippery, and there happens to be walls on both sides. We have seen cars continue to slide off of this, just either doing something wrong, lifted wrong. Did you do that? Hit a wall? You didn't.
I didn't know. It was going from, I went off in turn 11 in the TR and hit the flag station at turn 12.
Oh, okay. Well, that was not what I was talking
about.
No,
but the grass there, if you go off in the wet,
yes,
you will pick up speed.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and or at least you feel like it, at least. So
yes. So it's one of the, and not that you can always stop, but this one has enough runoff. It does, but if it's wet, it becomes an ice skating rink. So watch when you're going down the straight. It's one of those things to think about.
Absolutely. All right, so you got through the kink. Okay, now you're into the straight between 15 and 16, which is, it's a straight, it's wide, there's lots of room, but you've got another kink coming up, a kink of 16. This is a gentle kink, but it looks pretty rough when you're doing it. Also friendly curbing on the inside. The problem you're going to have is you're going to be doing basically your top speed coming into there. You got to get through the kink and then gather the car back up before a very tight right-hander of 17. So some people are going to need to at least lift before 16. If you're being cautious, a nice lift before 16 is good. Helps settle the car, go through 16 okay, gather it up, brake afterwards. Watch your traffic backing up into 17, because if you're coming up into 16 real hot and then you look and all of a sudden you see everyone stop for 17, you're probably not going to make it. And you're probably going to go off
flag
into
station.
The grass.
Important
Right.
Flag station there too.
Yeah, there's a couple flag stations there along that straight. Watch them. But if you don't have your eyes up, you're not going to make it. If there's no one around, your car is really good grip and it's not the fastest, you can flat through 16. And on the other side of 16, once you've gotten the car to stop cornering and just be gathered up, then you can brake very hard for 17. But it's going to be about you and your car. But eyes up is absolutely critical here. The straight between 16 and 17 too also is a disaster in the wet. It is a low spot there, and everywhere around it the grass is higher than it is on both sides, so water and mud flow onto the track here if it's raining enough. So it's terrible. So that's especially if
it's also
wet,
completely covered in braking of tires. It gets over the weekend, it gets covered in tires. So there's a lot of rubber there that makes it even slipperier.
Yeah. So watch out. If it's raining enough, you maybe have to do a lot of your braking before 16 because you're not going to have any traction in the mud and stuff on between 16 and 17. Careful. So
It's easy to get debris there too, just from
yeah.
people going off. If somebody doesn't brake, loses brakes, we had this happen last year. Actually, somebody went into the wall that was far away from this. It's far.
Oh, yeah.
That
Walls
wall
are
is
way
far
over like the
It's
edge of the
far
screen
away
here,
from this part
but
of the track.
but you make it there. I've seen plenty of people make it
Right.
all the way up there. How'd they keep going that far? Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
they just do. This is, I think, the most dangerous part of the track because you've got the highest speeds coming in and you've got a lot to happen in this short period of time. So careful. Then you're coming into 17, which is a very tight, I'm going to say this is what, 120-degree right-hander. It is mostly off camber at first, and then you get the camber back as you come into turn 18. So in 17, you start off
a little.
Yeah. Yep. Start off track out on the left, come all the way to the inside, kiss the curbing on the inside, but don't go over it because it's a little bit big. It's not going to help you. In fact, if anything, it can kick you out to 18, which is no good. But if you've done that right, you'll kind of flow out into 18, kind of into the middle of the track. You don't need to really track out 18. So then come back into your right, watch the flag station on your right here is a good one that makes sure you can see what's going on the straight because your visibility to the straight is not good there. This is also where your return to the pits is on your left. So if you're going back to the pits, stay wide on your left on 17 and 18, stay out of the way so that you can go back into the pits with your fist out right before 19 is where pit in is. If you're not going into the pits, then cut back to your right. And there's a kind of a natural flow that you'll feel between 18 and 19 where you're not forcing it, but the car just flows nicely and hits right to the apex, which is right by the guardrail of 19 for the pit in. And then flow on down the straight.
Slow. No problem.
Yeah. There are some parts of this track that really flow nicely if you get them well. And once you've done
So
it
much.
once, you'll say, yes, that worked. I need to do that again. And the really 3-4 is one spot where the flow happens. The whole S is in the back, but I'm gonna say especially the 10-11 flow is key. Also, the 13-14 flow is really important. What else do you guys want to add?
We've been adding
The flagging staff here, because this is a club track. They're really good. I would
usually are.
I would put them on par. So use them because they're skilled at keeping you safe. And if you've never been here before, or if you're not comfortable with it, just start noting on those practice days where those flag stations are when you're out there for your first couple of laps, and just make it a point of knowing where every one of them are, because they're not going to be watching you. This is how you know they're a good team. Their eyes are going to be on the incident that they're trying to warn you about. And there's just a lot of blind hills.
Eyes up.
Yeah, eyes up is important here. If you've got someone that has a bad time with that, this is a great track to put a piece of tape on your windshield. Really, not kidding.
You're going to have a bad time, okay?
Yep. All right.
Clear tape, not giant, thick Gorilla tape.
Yeah. No, I like just a thin piece of blue masking tape.
Thin
across
piece,
the windshield, so that you don't need to see anything below that. You don't. If you catch yourself looking down there, stop it. Up. I've had such great luck with students just doing vision drills here on this track. Is like they'll drive around and they're fighting it a little bit, and I start giving them specific spots to look that are way ahead of where they're looking. All of a sudden they're hitting the rev limiter and they're going so much faster, and I'm doing nothing but give them places to look. I've
done the same with or without people in right seat. I've done the same. There's corners that I'm just stuck, and I go through it in my head, and then I realize I'm just looking at that apex, just looking at it, waiting for it to come over, and then I'm like, oh, now maybe I should look over there. Yeah, it's a thing. Yeah,
it's a big deal here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
good, but it's a fun track.
Everyone keep it clean, play nice. Let's all have a good time.
Let's have a good time.